Despite this channel being all about my love of the outdoors, I have never camped before. Okay, sure, so as a child, I have camped on campsites. I bivvied once at like age 10 under a beach hut, and I have camped a couple of times at festivals as an adult, but I mean proper camping. I've never packed up everything I need for the night in a backpack and, you know, gone off and hiked into the wilderness to camp. And even though it's a huge goal of mine, if I'm being honest, I'm a bit scared to try it. Never mind actually doing it, I'm overwhelmed just at the thought of having to research and buy all of the gear that I need. R values, temperature limits, budget versus ultralight. It's all so overwhelming as a beginner. So I thought it would be a good idea to camp in the safety of my own garden with the things that I already own to see what backpacking gear I actually need to invest in and what needs an upgrade. And to do that, we're gonna need a tent. Please bear with me, by the way. If it wasn't obvious, I've never pitched a tent before. As someone who knows little to nothing about tents, this is the one I ended up with. It is the OEX Jackal II person tent. And I went with this one because, you know, hopefully sometimes it's not gonna be me solo camping, but also those times when I do solo camp, I feel like it's safer to look like you've got two people with you rather than, you know, having a single man tent. But from what I could see about reviews and, you know, videos that other people have made about this tent is that it's pretty sturdy, good in all conditions. You know, it's 4-season tent, meaning you should be able to use it in all 4 seasons and it survive. And one of the main things I noticed that came up about it was that it's been labeled a true 2-man tent or 2-person tent. So basically, some companies will say something's 2-person, but it just means you can squeeze in 2 people if you absolutely need to, but for most people, it's not gonna be comfortable. This one actually is comfortable with 2 people. So you can see it's just this big, massive bag, but when we get in there, they've separated stuff into 2 bags. So this is the fly sheet, and then this one is the poles and the inner. So if you are going with 2 people, you can split the weight between you. To be fair, as a 1 person, it is nice to just have it organized. I'm saying that like I know anything about putting up and putting down a tent. And then also instructions are on the inside here, which I'm gonna need. So step 1 is to lay out the fly sheet as flat as possible with the pole's sleeve facing upwards. I'm gonna do that. From what I've learned about tents is that they can either be set up inner first or outer first. So tents often have 2 layers. One will be like mesh and then the other one will be the waterproof outer layer. If you pitch the outer one first, it means that you're going to be all waterproof while you're putting in the inner mesh layer. So these little clips here are what attach the inner mesh layer to the outer fly sheet. So they need to be on the ground. Just moving you back because that's definitely not going to fit. Insert the assembled poles through the tent sleeves using the corresponding colour coding on the poles and on the pole sleeve tab. Use assistance if a novice. Oh! And do not force snagged poles as these may rip the tent or cause long-term irreparable damage. Got it. No pressure. Okay, so my camera cut out, I think, because it's really hot outside, but so far I've fed the poles through and I need to try and put them in their little eyelets, which I think is what I'm going to struggle with. How is that ever going in? Am I doing something wrong or am I just too weak for this tent? Okay, so it turns out I was just an idiot. Yeah, the reason it didn't work was because I was doing the wrong colour for the wrong thing, even though I literally read that they were colour coordinated. For some reason I just did it wrong, but I think that just shows you the importance of testing out your gear before. Hopefully it's doable. Ugh. Okay, yeah, that was like the right amount of difficulty I feel like it should be. Okay, yeah, this is so much more doable. Okay. Yes! I've passed. Where am I? Step 3. Okay, peg out the fly sheet ensuring the tent is evenly spaced. Angle the pegs away from the tent to ensure the pegs are secure. That's interesting, because I would have assumed you have to do it towards the tent. Interesting. Now, I am pegging into AstroTurf. Yes, I know, I have AstroTurf. I hate it too. Nothing I can do about that right now. Okay, I'm gonna try and peg this and I'm gonna put you inside because it's really warm out and I don't want you to overheat. So you can sit inside while I do all the hard work. I think I've done it. So this is the part where if you were in the pouring rain, you could get in to the little waterproof section. Welcome to my humble abode, guys. So I'm just gonna drag this in. Okay, so there are these little hooks on the inner parts and these, can you see that? These little loops on the outer part of the tent. But basically, I'm hooking these things into the fly sheet. Part of my tent has collapsed while I was hooking all of those in, so I'm gonna go fix that. What seems to be the problem then? Okay, this was meant to be on here. I think maybe it was a little bit too tight. Okay. Pro tip, that was so much easier with my feet. I wouldn't really say shoes, but pushing in with your feet is way easier than doing it by hand. I'm not really sure what the point of this is. If you know, please let me know. Now I'm going to clip the inner to the fly sheet using these little hooks. You see they would clip right at the top there. So I'm going to work from back to front to get all of those connected. How are there already bugs in here? Well, at least they're in the outer section for now. Okay, now we can do these front ones. I think I've done it. Should we have a look? Ugh. It's like my back just clicked from lying down on the floor. Bye. And then there's a mesh door so that I can keep all the bugs out and still say hi to people and get that crucial ventilation. I'll be honest, I feel like that took way longer than I thought it would. That probably shouldn't have been surprising because I've never done it before. And I was doing it by myself, which I know that obviously loads of people do set up tents by themselves, but for a first time, I feel like I did okay. I feel like this tent is definitely as spacious as people were saying. It does feel pretty massive for just myself. Like, definitely could fit another person in here. And I've got to say, it's kind of even just having it in my garden, it's kind of fulfilling that need to have a den. I was always building dens as a child, and I feel like this is just an expensive den. I really should have made a note of when I started putting this up, but I think it was about 4 o'clock, and it is 5:30. That's kind of embarrassing to say, but I will say, obviously, I'm taking time because I'm filming it, so there's that aspect which takes longer. Reading all of the instructions, doing some things twice because I'd done them wrong the first time. So I'm hoping that if I practice putting it up, I can streamline that down to a good 20 minutes. I feel like the outer part would only take 10 minutes, and I guess you could technically, once you've got your first few pegs in, you could probably peg the rest of it from the inside. That might be a bold statement, but at least then if you're in the rain, you're undercover the whole time. Okay, so you might be thinking, Elliot, you've said you're going to camp, but with no backpacking supplies. So how are you going to be comfortable? I'm not just going to sleep on this rock hard floor, okay? Don't worry. I do have things, but they're things that I haven't necessarily bought, or things that I have bought and I don't think are actually good for the job. It's just what I'm using right now, and depending on how it goes, I'll see if I actually need to replace it by buying something in the future. So I guess we'll say first things first is this sleeping pad that I have. It is the Multimat Adventure, and actually I got it for free because my brother wrote into Trail magazine and he won their competition, and you know, it was one of those share your stories and enter the draw to win a thing, and he won it. And because I was included in the story and he just had a baby with his wife, he said that I could have it because he's not going to have any opportunity to use it anytime soon. So thanks Lewis, and thanks Trail magazine. I've already inflated it because apparently you meant to store them inflated, but it's not that thick and it's not that full, and I'm wondering maybe that's just because there's not enough air in there. I'm not sure how comfortable that's going to be, and I can't find an R rating for it anywhere, not on any websites, not on the actual thing, so we'll see how that goes. But I am a side sleeper and I'm wondering if this is going to be really uncomfortable, but for now we'll chuck it in. All of the sleeping pads that I've seen YouTubers recommend are like £200, and I just can't justify spending that on something that I haven't even gotten into yet. Never mind justify, I just simply cannot afford it. So it might be a long time before I actually go camping. I'm just starting early and seeing what I should actually get now. But if I can get away with this one, I think it retails for £30, then I'll take it. Okay, next up, even though it is currently, apparently it's 29 degrees Celsius right now, which is 84 degrees Fahrenheit apparently. Thought I'd bring this out here just to see how things compare, because there's no point me testing out all of this stuff in nearly 30 degree weather. Well, not 30 degree weather, it's 30 degrees in here. There's no point me testing all of this out for me to plan how it's going to be in 30 degree weather. So I'm going to try and take this, see how I feel, and estimate how it would feel if it was 20 degrees colder. Next up, we have my partner's massive sleeping bag. I don't think they even make these anymore. This is the OEX Roam 300, and it is a 3-season bag with a comfort rating of 1 degree Celsius. So pretty good for winter, I think. But as you can see, this is massive. This is like the size of me. I really don't think I'm going to need this tonight, but I thought it would be weird to not have a sleeping bag. I am one of those people who likes something on me at all times though when I'm asleep, so I might have to just run in and get like a really thin blanket to use instead, and maybe just use this as ground padding. I'm not sure, but it's here. We'll see how that goes. I'll update you later. And another thing is this self-inflating pillow by High Gear. I got this because I got my tent from Go Outdoors, and this was also on Go Outdoors, and I figured it would be kind of a similar size to the little Decathlon inflatable one. But I think because this is self-inflating, it's massive. Like, I don't want to carry this in my pack. I'd rather just have no pillow. And again, that's going from a side sleeper. I need a pillow. But I'm just gonna leave that open and we'll see how long that takes to inflate. But this is definitely gonna be one of those things that I replace. I've already seen what the Decathlon inflating one looks like, and I think it's pretty small compared to this from what I remember. Next up is another thing that I bought that I didn't actually buy to use camping. It's this little camping light. Again, I got it in Decathlon, so I think it's like a 4-class one or something. But I thought this would be good to hang from that little hook back there. It's kind of light, but it does take batteries, not rechargeable, so this is probably one of those things that I would look to replace down the line, but at the moment I have it. And then I also have a head torch as well, so good things to have later. Okay, yeah, it just hit 30 degrees, so we're in for a sweaty night. I'm just going to try and blow this up a bit more. Okay, that's pretty sturdy now. So let's lock that off. And I may as well blow this up while I'm here. Cool. Let's see how that feels, shall we? Wow. I feel like my back's clicking just from laying down flat on the ground. Do you think my pillow is a bit plump though? Although to be fair, I guess the good thing about an inflatable pillow is I can just make it however plump I want it to be. Maybe this is the future. Should I just use this pillow for at home? Maybe. Let's hang this up. Nice. So I've heard that you should unclip your sleeping bag pretty early on, just to fluff it out. I'm not sure if that's just a down thing because this is a synthetic sleeping bag. And to be honest, I'm probably not going to use it anyway, but I'm going to do it just in case. It is a great colour. Bright green, if you can't tell. One thing I do like about this tent so far is that there are pockets either side. So that's really nice because, you know, if you have everything on the floor of your tent, you are looking into potentially standing on it. Being able to pop that phone in there, pop your glasses in, handy. Definitely a two-person tent. And it is looking pretty cozy, if I do say so myself. Okay, I know this is kind of cheating because I would never bring this amount of stuff with me, but I've brought some things for me to do while I'm out here. Obviously, I'm not going to bring all of these books backpacking with me, but this tiny little one is just a little notebook that I can use to draw and write in. It weighs like nothing, and it's just really small, easy to put away. This is something that I probably would actually bring. Next is this really thin book, which is probably also the other thing that I would bring. But because it's non-fiction, I wanted to have options, you know? So I also brought another non-fiction book that I'm really trying to read, but I feel like it's going to take me a while to get into. And then two of my faves, Pride and Prejudice and Emma by Jane Austen. These are my bedtime books, so I'm probably going to read them. And if I do end up going camping, I'm sure I can find like a miniature version. It's just that these are the two versions that I have. I do actually collect Pride and Prejudices, and this is probably the smallest version I have. So definitely something that I would need to pick up if I do go backpacking, because this is not coming with me. Oh, and I just have a normal pen and a watercolour pen for any drawing that I do. Please don't judge me. I think I'm just going to chill for a bit, maybe read a book. I love it. That's my little house for the night. I don't know if you can hear those bird sounds, but even just in my garden, it's pretty nice and quiet. Okay, so it's pretty dark now, if you couldn't tell. I've just brought in my cheeky little garden lantern, which obviously would not bring with me, but I have it, so why not? And I thought I would just use my little backpacker's pot, apparently, just a little stove that my dad gave me. And I thought I'd use it to make a brew before bed. Now obviously I've got to be really careful because I've got AstroTurf, and obviously it would be bad if that set on fire. Maybe not as aesthetically pleasing, but at least it's safe. This is just a little, I don't know, standard Primus stove that my dad gave me. He had it spare, so I'll take it off his hands. Nothing fancy, there's no guard or anything, so probably isn't the most efficient fuel-wise, but it's what I've got. And to be honest, I feel like it's pretty quick at heating up water, so when you boil stuff with a little stove like this, do you always put it to max power, or do you just have it at like medium-high? I never know. I always feel a bit like max power is too much. While it heats up, I think I'm going to read some of my book. I think it's a bit windy. Oh, it's blown out. I think I've run out of gas. No. Still gas in there. Why has that happened then? Because there's definitely fuel in there. I don't know, can you hear that? Loads of fuel in there. Let's give it another go, maybe. Oh. So much gas just came out. There we go. I feel like that's too strong. Oh. Okay, that's boiled. Perfect amount. Okay, I'm not sure if you can tell, but I've got a great little sleepover situation here going on. I underestimated the importance of lighting, because I know I'm not nervous at all because I'm in my own garden, so there's nothing really to be nervous about. But having this like nice warm yellow, like cute light is making me feel quite nice. Obviously wouldn't be lugging that around with me, but maybe just a small light that isn't as harsh as the big camping one I'm using to light my face right now. But yeah, I feel pretty cozy in here. Got my brew. I'm just waiting for it to cool down a little bit before I can drink it. Got some snacks. Got my water there, pillow there, headlamp. I've put my keys in the pocket so I don't lose them in case I need to go in the house, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to pee in the garden. I have a house right there. I'm going to use it. So I know it's cheating, but I've peed outside before. I don't need to test how to do that right now. So while I'm all cozy, I thought we could discuss the things that I think I need to buy so far. My current sleep system, which I wouldn't really call a sleep system, is my Multimat Adventure 25, which is apparently a 4-season, and it says it can be used in temperatures of -20 to +50 degrees Celsius, but I don't think that means it will keep you alive in that, because it's like that thick. It says it has a tog value of 4.02, and I did some research online and it was kind of hard to tell, but apparently one tog is 0.57 in R value, which would mean it has a 2.29 R value, which I don't think is that good. Sorry, I've just realised like I'm staring out of the mesh, and while I can't see anyone else, people can definitely see me, so I'm just gonna zip this up. I've just had a look on Google. It says at 10 degrees you need a sleeping pad with an R value of 0 to 2.5, and then it kind of goes up incrementally from there. So 5 degrees you need it 2.5 to 4, -1 degrees 4 to 6, and then anything below that is 6 plus R value. Now obviously that's just your sleeping pad, so I don't know what R value the sleeping pad and the sleeping bag need to be together. But anyway, like I said, I've got this self-inflating pillow, which is simply too big to pack down. To be honest though, it seems quite comfy, but I definitely think this is somewhere that I could save a lot of space. I have heard that some people just use a stuff sack filled with clothes, but I would be worried to do that, because then if it's really cold and I need the extra insulation, I'm going to have to put the clothes on, and then I'm pillowless. I'm so sorry if you hear sirens right now. Not ideal, but I live outside a city, so unfortunately this garden camping trip isn't as picturesque or ASMR as it would be out in the hills. Okay, so my wish list for backpacking so far is an inflatable pillow, probably the I think it might be Quechua one from Decathlon. That's actually $4.99, and I've heard great things. Miranda Goes Outside used it, I'm pretty sure, and she said it was great, so I'd like to try it. I think I'm gonna need a much bigger backpack, and I'm a bit hesitant to do that because I'm quite weak. I'm a weak person, but you know, I'm not afraid to carry a heavy pack if I need to, mainly because I know I'm going to be buying budget gear, and the easiest place for companies to cut costs with gear is by not using the lightest materials. So now, a sleeping bag. I already can see myself getting annoyed with this because I kind of fidget a lot in my sleep, so I'm kind of toying with the idea of getting one that like fully unzips. I don't know if those are quilts or if they are still sleeping bags, but probably something like that. And then, like I said, maybe a better sleeping mat. Not sure about that. I'll let you know how I feel about it after tonight. Anyway, that was pretty much my notes for tonight, so I'm probably gonna drink my brew, have some fudge, maybe do some drawing, and maybe read. Cool. I just got changed into my PJs. I'm feeling pretty comfy in the sleeping bag now. I'm probably going to leave it zipped open and it'll just kind of be on top of me, but yeah, it's nice. Temperature is now apparently 24 degrees Celsius or 75.4 Fahrenheit. Still pretty warm by UK standards. But yeah, I've been having fun. I think I'm going to read some more of my book. I've given in and I'm just reading Emma instead of any of the non-fiction books that I wanted to read. I think I'm just, you know, kind of sleepy. I don't want to learn things. I just want to reread things I've already read before. So I think my tea has finally gotten to the point where it's drinkable. It's not boiling hot anymore. So I'm going to drink that, chill, and then get tucked up for bed. Okay, I'm going to go to bed now. I realised I was at the wrong side of the tent because my head was at the side where the like top of the tent gets low, the ceiling, I guess. So my head is next to the door now, which I've got to say, it feels more like a security risk to have your head near the door. But I guess it makes sense because that's going to be the tallest part of the tent. Yeah, I'm pretty snug in here, but I'll let you know how I get on and if I wake up in the night. Fingers crossed it's fine. It's somehow still 20 degrees and it's 4 a.m. It smells like when you're on holiday and it's been really warm and then it's like rained slightly overnight and it's nice and cool. Good morning. I really should have brought a hairbrush out here. At least this way you know that this isn't like YouTube magic where I just slept in my house and came out here to record. Ooh, that's because of humidity. There is really no condensation in here, but it is slightly sweaty. But no, I actually slept really well. Obviously, I woke up earlier at about 3 a.m, I think, because of the birds. They've quietened down now, but they were really loud, so I had to put in my loops, which are now like randomly strewn across the tent. I actually went inside when I woke up to go to the bathroom, and it was so hot inside the house, even if I was tempted to sleep in my actual bed. It's too hot in there. I don't actually want to. It was way more comfortable in my tent because it was nice and cool outside. So that was crazy. But yeah, it felt really tranquil when I woke up, and I kind of felt, you know, when you wake up for
like to travel, like to go on holiday, and it's the middle of the night and you're really tired but you feel wide awake because you're excited. Or like waking up on Christmas, you're like ready to get up straight away. That was kind of bad because it was like 3 a.m. and so when I was trying to get back to sleep, it did take me a little while. But then I got to sleep and I haven't woken up until it's 7:30 now, so I'd count that as a good sleep. Shall we see what my Garmin says? 5 hours 41, and I had shorter than ideal, but plenty of deep sleep. That does look like the most deep sleep I've ever had. I do remember dreaming, like, both times I was asleep last night, so that makes me think it was, like, a good sleep. So, how did we feel about this sleeping pad? It's actually alright, and I'm a side sleeper, so I thought it would be a big problem, because obviously, like, I might have wider hips than a lot of people, and yeah, sleeping on your side, that can be really annoying. I actually think I slept on my back for most of the night. Aside from getting pins and needles in my arms, I felt really comfy, and I actually slept on my back for a lot of it. So I guess if you're wanting to switch your sleep position and sleep on your back, you should get in a tent. I think I could feel the ground with my hip, but it wasn't enough to start hurting or anything. But I do wonder if maybe I should get a thicker one anyway, for the warmth factor, but also for that extra comfort. Warmth wise, I was absolutely fine all night, but as you saw, it was like 20 plus degrees, so plus I'm in this huge sleeping bag that has about an extra foot at the end. So temperature's really not an issue. In fact, I was kind of hot, but you know, that's to be expected. It's like heat wave weather over here, which is kind of concerning because if I'm not too hot in this in 20 plus degrees Celsius, I must be really cold when it gets colder. Like I should have been roasting alive in this and I wasn't. So that makes me worried that I'm going to need to buy a similar sized sleeping bag and a better sleeping pad. And that sounds expensive. If you have any budget sleeping pad recommendations or sleeping bag recommendations, let me know. I feel like I didn't love the shape of the bag. I don't think it's a mummy one, but I think it's that kind of shape-ish. And to be honest, I found the hood kind of annoying, especially because like when I did sleep on my side, the hood's like kind of cutting across your face and it's really annoying. But it did kind of keep my pillow in place, but I don't think I really found an issue with my pillow. What did I not use that I packed? About half of the books that I brought back there. But I did end up listening to the audiobook version on my phone rather than reading the book. And I do think that's one of my like anti-anxiety cures, is listening to an audiobook. And obviously you could have the light off. But I don't know how much battery that uses. I think because I was only using it to listen to an audiobook, it was absolutely fine. And because I was camping, I was focusing on doing other stuff like reading, drawing, like I wasn't scrolling my phone. So that was good. But I definitely would bring a battery pack just in case. And I would probably buy a lamp that you could charge, because I felt guilty having my little camping light on because it was battery powered, and it was kind of heavy because it was battery powered, so that one is something that I would maybe replace. And I would try and look for one that had a more warm light, because that bright white light was just really glaring and really woke you up. So yeah, that's probably something I'd think about buying too. I see a lot of people use string lights, but like I said earlier, one of the reasons I got a 2-person tent was to make it look like I'm not more of a threat but less of a target. And I feel like fairy lights, as depressing as it is, might make me more of a target if there was anyone that was like an opportunist or something. Like, that's a horrible thought to have, but it's the kind of thing that I feel like I have to think about. So I don't think I would bring fairy lights, but some kind of lantern camping light that's just a bit cozier that I can deal with. What was annoying or fiddly to set up? Nothing really inside the tent, but the tent itself. Yeah, that did take me like an hour and a half, and that's pretty embarrassing. But to be fair to myself, I was filming myself set up, so that would have added a good few minutes on there. But I did do a couple of things wrong that I then had to restart, and I was trying to peg through AstroTurf, so that's always going to be more difficult. But I do think with a bit of practice I can get that down to like 20 minutes, so I don't really blame the tent for that. That was my, not stupidity, shall we say, lack of experience. I was a novice, as the tent said. Could I carry this setup in a real backpack? Absolutely not. At least not in any backpack that I currently have. I think I could potentially fit in the sleeping bag, maybe the sleeping mat, not the tent. So I definitely do need to look into a bigger bag, maybe like a 50 litre or something, if I do end up going backpacking, because yeah, this isn't fitting in my bag. This isn't the lightest tent. I thought about getting the Nature Hike Cloud Up tent because it's really light, and that's a huge bonus for someone like me who isn't very strong and tends to have smaller, well, I say I tend to have smaller bag sizes. My day pack is literally 38 litres. Which I'm sure is more than some ultralighters out there. But I'm buying budget gear, so it's all going to be bigger, bulkier, heavier. I'm going to need a bigger bag, or I need to somehow get like $1,000 in order to buy all this stuff, which I simply do not have. And I don't think I would want to spend it on backpacking gear at the moment anyway. Sorry if that's bad to say, but I'm learning to drive. That is already a huge waste of money. No, it's not a waste of money, but you know what I mean. It's a money sink. I think as well, because I use a water bladder, it takes a lot more space on the inside of my bag than people that maybe have water bottles on the side of their bag. So that's something to keep in mind. It might be better for me to just use water bottles when I camp, which is what I did use this time. I did use a water bottle instead of a water bladder, but that was mainly because I'm not hiking anywhere, so I'm not sure why I would bring a water bladder out into my garden. But yeah, maybe for space distribution, that's something I would have to do. We'll see. I feel like I should make myself look slightly more alive before I finish this video, but I'll at least get out and show you the tent. That is what I will do. There is one thing that I noticed when I'm on the inside, and that is, it's gone now, you won't be able to see, but I could see in that little gap there was a spider web and a little spider that had made that its home already. You might be able to see it actually, I think it's up there. There's like a little white speck up there. I'm just like, damn, they really move fast over here. Oh, loved having the pocket, by the way. As you can see, my keys are in there, and that was really handy because when I had to get up to go back into my house, I didn't have to rummage around looking for a key the whole time. I could just reach in and grab it, so that was really handy. Shall we see the outside world? One of my puppies has flowered. It's new. My beloved lavender. Oh yeah, that's nice. I think there's definitely something to be said about waking up outside, even if you're not in like a stunning mountainside. Even just waking up and having the fresh air, like smelling the flowers, I just feel really happy. I feel like this is a great way to wake up. Looks like my tent survived too. And all of my guy lines, they're all still in there. I feel like that's mission successful. Okay, I have not had breakfast yet, but it kind of looks like it might rain. So I think I'm gonna try and take this down as quickly as possible. Okay, so final thoughts. I had a really comfortable night, and I think it was probably even more comfortable than if I had stayed in my actual bed, just because of the heat. But I am a bit worried about how I would cope in colder seasons, because like I said, that was nearly 30 degrees in there and I was still in my sleeping bag. Like, I was a bit warm, but I'm worried that I'm not going to be warm enough when it's colder. After thinking it over a bit, I'm leaning towards prioritizing
getting a better, thicker, inflatable sleeping pad combined with a quilt, you know, one of those backless sleeping bags. From what I've seen, I think that would suit me best as a side sleeper and someone who fidgets a lot in their sleep. Plus, it should save me a significant amount of space in my backpack as well, which is something that I need to think about given the rest of my gear is going to be quite bulky and heavy. Like I said, I don't just have a few £100 laying around that I can just spend on this stuff. This is probably going to be something that I gradually build up over time. So if you have any recommendations for a reasonably priced sleep system, let me know. I'm going to need all of the help I can get. If you've gotten this far, you're probably one of those people who can't commit to a 90-minute film, but will straight away click on a 2-hour YouTube video, just like me. This is actually my longest video so far, I think, but I can recommend my second longest video down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want to keep up with my journey to wild camping, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!